Hello there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be watching another user requested video. This is by Bobs Are Awesome, and he posted this link to Origin and History of the Tamers by Masaman. Now we did watch a Mason? I don't forget how he pronounces his name, but we did watch one of his videos before, really recently actually, on the Indian diaspora, where other countries where Indians have a very significant population percentage. So yeah, this one I do believe I have it pulled up here. Yes, it is a slightly older video, 5 years ago, again, which is perfectly fine. I don't mind watching some older videos. Uh, but yeah, if it's recommended to me, I'll add it to the list or I'll watch it right away. So if you have something you want me to watch, let me know down below. I will just preface that my list right now has like 250 videos. I'm slowly working through it. I'm going to start uploading like 2 times a day, I think. That's the only way I'm going to be able to get through this list in a reasonable amount of time is upload like twice a day. So we're going to watch this. The link to this video will be in the description down below. Let me read the description here. There are more ethnic Tamils on the planet than there are Italians. I didn't know that. But what do you know about the origin and history of the Tamars? The Tamars are an extremely ancient group with history that ties them with many in and around the subcontinent, particularly Southeast Asia, and in the past were one of the major classical civilizations of South Asia. But not even those from India really know too much about them. Hmm. In today's video, we will be looking at the Tamars, one of the southern India's most well-known people groups, as well as their relation to other Dravidian groups, Indians, and many of those who interacted with them over the millennia, such as the Aryans, Europeans, Arabs, and others. Thank you for watching. Okay, well, again, link to this channel will be in the description down below. Let's go ahead and get it started.
In one of the most seemingly remote locations in the old world, an extremely ancient, proud,
What is this taken from? This isn't the International Space Station. I think this is a space shuttle. It looks like a space shuttle because like this is like an arm hinge and this is like open. It looks like it's opened up and yeah, I don't know. It looks like a space shuttle. It doesn't look like the International Space Station, but maybe someone will let me know.
and extensive civilization has stood for thousands of years, influencing neighboring islands, nations, even entire continents, whose legacy still lives on directly and
Ooh,
indirectly all
480p. Wow. Okay. Okay.
over the world. Tamil is considered a classical language in the same manner as Latin, Chinese, or Aramaic, meaning that it can be traced back in its intelligible form thousands of years, at least 2 centuries before Christ, one of the oldest attested languages in South Asia, with most of the ancient texts in the north written in Sanskrit, although in the south, Tamil was the secondary lingua franca of the region, effectively making
How's he got his foot all the way up here? That's interesting. Is this like a yoga thing?
them equivalent to the Greeks of South Asia. Evidence of Tamil traders has been found as far as ancient China, East Africa, Egypt, and many of the surrounding regions.
Yeah, they got around really far. Even before like colonialism, they were like known for their ability to travel and go about and be merchants and whatnot. I mean, they spread their language like all over the place. You can find hints of it pretty much everywhere. Um, that was known at the time.
And various empires of South, and yes, even Southeast Asia had Tamils at the helm. But how did the Tamils even get there in the first place? And what are the origin and evolution of this people group? Evidence suggests that the first humans to ever inhabit the land that is now known as southern India were likely similar to the diminutive dark skinned islanders in the Andamans and North Sentinel Island, referred to as
Diminutive? Are they short? I didn't realize that.
Negritos by some, with the Andamans and North Sentinel Island referred to as Negritos by some.
Is that a okay? Um, why that word? What is that? I'm assuming it's like a deriving from like the Spanish word for black, right? I don't know.
Some, with other archaic Eurasians intermixed
What is this? Distribution of southern Eurasian admixture in the Asia Pacific region. What is this? What does this mean? I can't read that. It's too blurry because the video's in 480p. No, Australia, I don't know what that says, are often distinguished as a grouped together in something. Hmm. Okay. I don't know what this map actually denotes. Distribution of southern Eurasian admixture. Well, Papua New Guinea is like all. It's like almost like 95% or more. It's like 100% Papua New Guinea is that. So, I'm what? Okay.
Mixing some tens of thousands of years ago to create the Vadoid phenotype. As mentioned
Vadoid?
in my video over the Dravidians as a whole, the Dravidian family almost certainly has its origins in southwest Eurasia, likely modern-day Iran, with the early Dravidian migrants to South Asia creating the Harappan or Indus Valley civilization before their conquest
Yeah, I
of
knew that. I knew I will from other videos and from self study. I knew that they were from the Indus Valley region.
Aryans from the north. This pushed the Dravidians further and further south, although some pockets have remained in northeast India, Bangladesh, and even Pakistan, although the Brahui are very genetically similar to the neighboring Iranian-speaking groups rather than the Dravidians of South India. There are four
Yeah, but their language like persists on, and Brahui is similar to like a more ancient version of Tamar. So
major Dravidian speaking groups, that being the Telugu, Kannada, Malayali from Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and Kerala, respectively. And although the Telugu are a bit more numerous in South Asia, the Tamils are perhaps the most iconic and well known. Haplogroups considered native to the Indian subcontinent are mostly referring to clades that existed before the migration of the Yamnaya and Proto-Indo-Aryans who brought haplogroup R1a from the Eurasian steppes, which is why
what is this map supposed to denote? What did he say again?
the Indian subcontinent are mostly referring to clades that existed before the migration of the Yamnaya and Proto-Indo-Aryans who brought haplogroup R1a from the Eurasian steppes, which is why R1a is dominant not only in northern India but also parts of Central Asia and most of Eastern Europe, not indicating a close genetic relation but merely showing a common paternal ancestor.
So the paternal ancestors, those that were even like before the Indo-Aryan ancestry, right? I'm assuming.
Haplogroup R2, H, and L predate the Indo-Aryans and are the most common among Dravidians and particularly Tamil populations. As I've mentioned many times in past videos, because of generations upon generations of intensive intermixing, race and genetics in South Asia is much more of a spectrum than anywhere else on Earth, although some groups like the Adivasi and Dardic peoples, if compared side by side, have literally almost nothing in common genetically, showing the extreme complexity of the subject, although most people belonging to the Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, and Austroasiatic ethno-linguistic groups do share a significant gene pool and cluster together due to their isolation and miscegenation, albeit on a much looser scale than other groups. The only modern group in southern India that is known to predate the Dravidians in this region is the small, isolated tribes of Sri Lanka known as the Veda, the indigenous race of Sri Lanka, and possibly even further north in southern India as well.
Isolated tribes in Sri Lanka. I didn't realize that Sri Lanka had like had still like had, I guess, quote unquote isolated tribes. Hmm.
One point, although the Tamil migration quickly dominated this group of archaic hunter-gatherers, and they lived this isolated primitive lifestyle for many millennia up until relatively recently. One of the first
Interesting.
real
I had no
Tamil
idea.
empires or substantial national consolidation among the Tamil people would have been the Cholas, who established a dynasty 300 years before Christ, spanning the bulk of what we would now refer to as southern India today.
Yeah, I knew about the Chola dynasty, and how widespread it was, and this is why, like Singapore, like their one of their main languages is Tamil as well. Still, and this is, I mean, they were very widespread.
Highly correlating with current Dravidian inhabited territory,
They even went into like Japan and Korea, right? I'm pretty sure they did.
including all of Sri Lanka and the Maldives at one point. Their territorial influence, however, was massive, with ancient Tamil merchants reaching Bengal, Malaysia, Sumatra, and other parts of Southeast Asia, and in the process, large numbers of Tamils and other southern Indians settled in this region, showing a very male biased pattern of settlement typical of conquest, establishing many Indian style Hindu empires, not unlike those seen through the Greek conquest of Southwest
Spread of Buddhism and Hinduism.
Asia. These Hindu kingdoms would, of course, eventually fall to Buddhist and later Islamic regimes, although the South Indian, and more specifically Tamil, influence on this region is still felt in the linguistics, culture, and genetics of the modern people, with around 5 to 15% of the gene pool of Thailand, Cambodia, and parts of Australasia being traced back to the Dravidians of the subcontinent.
Wow.
In Sri Lanka, the situation is complicated by the arrival of the Sinhalese or Sinhalese, an Indo-Aryan speaking ethnicity that are essentially the result of mass migration from northern India to the island, particularly the Bengalis, Gujaratis, and Marathis, although rather than replacing the previous Dravidian population, the Aryans intermixed with them, and for this reason, the Sri Lankan Tamils and Sinhalese are very closely related, with
Interesting. Average genetic breakdown of ethnic groups in Sri Lanka. Dutch, Sri Lankan, Malay, Moor, Sinhalese, Indian, Tamil. Hmm.
Tamils being the closest ethnicity genetically to the Sinhalese,
Yeah, and then we have the Veda, of course.
than the Bengalis. There has also been a minor genetic flow into the Sri Lankan Sinhalese population from neighboring Southeast Asia in the past 1,000 years, giving them more Eastern Eurasian admixture than most groups in South Asia, which is also derivative from the original Bengali migrants. And although sources differ significantly, it is known that not only did the Sinhalese
Well, I want to take a look at this again. So Indian Tamil is actually just more of like in the middle here. Is this where the Tamil tigers are located? Kind of, sorta. Because this is like where Candy's at, right? Like literally, I'm pretty positive like Candy's like located right here. I could be wrong, but so his Sinhalese was very widespread. Sri Lankan Tamil, okay. Sri Lankan Moor. Hmm.
immigrants. And although sources differ significantly, it is known that not only did the Sinhalese gain a significant proportion of the genome and culture from the original Sri Lankan Tamils, but the Tamils of Sri Lanka have likewise been heavily affected by this migration as well. In this graph over the genetic makeup of various ethnic groups of Sri Lanka, you can see that the genetic differences are not huge, with the exception of the Burgher and Sri Lankan Malay communities, who have much larger proportions of European and Southeast Asian admixture respectively, naturally as a result of migration from these alien regions. Although over the generations there has been heavy intermixing with native Sri Lankans to the point where phenotypic differences are nearly negligible for some. These are also highly heterogeneous groups, and religion may play some part in this as well, with many Burghers integrating into the Sinhalese Christian community, especially as of late. And
It's crazy. Like they some of these people just like look like your average like white person, right? Like that's kind of wild to me. Like she just looks like an average like when I say white person, like I mean like an average like American white person, right? Like she looks like an American white person. He kind of looks like maybe like a Hispanic dude almost. I don't know. It's
these are
very
also
interesting.
highly heterogeneous groups, and religion may play some part in this as well, with many Burghers integrating into the Sinhalese Christian community, especially as of late, and religious conversion between groups, although rare, is not unheard of. While other areas of South India, such as Kerala and Karnataka, were heavily involved mostly with those from Western Eurasia, particularly the Persians, Arabs, Syrians, and even African groups like the Horn Africans at one point, the Tamils had mostly set their sights to the east, where across the Bay of Bengal lied one of the most heavily populated civilizations yet to be fully explored by the outside world. This is the reason for the aforementioned large cultural links between the Tamils and East Southeast Asia,
Destined is for the person smuggles in drugs. Wow.
as nearly all written indigenous scripts used by the Khmer, Thai, Mon, Burmese, Javanese, and many others in the region are derivative of the Tamil Brahmic
Yep.
alphabet, which of course is derivative from that.
I learned that in one of the recent videos that I watched. I think it was the Indian Pixel one. I didn't realize that it had such a huge impact on other languages outside of Tamil Nadu as well. So that was actually a really cool fact to learn.
found in northern India, derivative of
Yeah, look, the Thai, the Khmer language. That's really cool.
Syriac, derivative of Phoenician, which is the same source that Europeans get their alphabet from. And although the cultural link across the Bay of Bengal was stunted after the Islamization of the Malays and Indonesians, this wasn't the end of the Tamil influence on this area. Hundreds of years
I was
after the
gonna say this is a like Islamic temple. Isn't this the yeah? This is in Indonesia, right? I'm pretty positive this is like it's on a lake in Indonesia somewhere. I can't
this
quite
wasn't
remember
the
it.
end of the Tamil influence on this area. Hundreds of years after the fall of the Chola dynasty, everyone's most beloved group of the British strolled into town. Well, everyone's most beloved group to hate on, that is. But you don't need me to
True.
explain to you the British Raj or their eventual takeover of the Malay Peninsula and Sri Lanka from the Portuguese and Dutch. But after their incorporation, there was a bit of a reinvigoration of the overseas Tamil communities. The British saw the recruitment of thousands upon thousands of ethnic Tamils from both the Raj and Ceylon, their name for the Sri Lankan colony at the time, and for this reason, the bulk of overseas Indian descended communities in South Africa, Malaysia, and Singapore are indeed of Tamil descent, although the situation is a bit more complex than this. Of the
And he
nearly
yeah, and we watched the whole video. He actually has a newer video of the Indian diaspora as well. He had the original one, which was like 4 years ago. And then I think he has a new one that's out, like that's like a month or two old. We'll probably end up watching that one as well.
4 million South Asian descendants in Malaysia and Singapore. The bulk are ethnically Tamil of the Hindu faith, but there has been extensive intermixing between other groups that arrived in the area, particularly those from southern India, as well as historic intermixing between Tamil Muslims and Malays, and in more recent times, intermixing between Indians and the Chinese of these countries, quickly becoming the largest multi ethnic population in urban areas. Perhaps not so coincidentally, the Tamils of Malaysia and Singapore are heavily overrepresented not only in the upper brackets of the socioeconomic spectrum, but also the lowest. Although on average Indians in these countries are the richest racial groups, but the high economic disparities is
Average yearly income, various Indian descended communities around the world: Indian American, Indian Indo Canadian, British Indian, Indian Singaporean, Indian Malaysian, Indian South African, Indian Trinidadian, Indian Mauritian, Indian Fijian, India. India's at the very bottom. What?
upper brackets of the socioeconomic spectrum, but also the lowest. Although on average Indians in these countries are the richest racial groups, but the high economic disparities is very reminiscent of the caste system back in India. There has also been heavy influence of Tamil culture in Fiji, the Indo-Caribbean community of Guyana, Trinidad, and elsewhere, as well as the Indo-Mascarene population of the islands of Mauritius and Reunion, with these latter South Asian groups being more of a fusion of both North, East, South, and West Indian people and culture,
Indian
not really being
Africa.
traced back to only one group. So it does bring up the issue of whether each of these communities are an extension of the Tamil nation, or if they all stand on their own, having created their own divergent cultures.
Well, at this point, I mean, it's been hundreds of years, right? Like, it's been many generations and hundreds of years. I would think if there was at this point, you would probably want to consider them something different. But hey, I guess that's up to the people themselves, right? So let them decide. I don't know.
Strangely enough, the British also brought Tamil workers from India to the highlands of Ceylon, where they were considered culturally distinct from the native Ceylonese Tamils, although some do consider themselves to be a part of the same people. And similarly, the Tamil speaking Muslims of Sri Lanka, or Moors as they were branded by the Portuguese, are sometimes considered a part of the greater Tamil nation, but the Moors actually consider themselves to be Arab descendants from ancient migrants, and genetic studies partially back this up for some Moors, although other Moor families are the result of conversion from other groups. The Sri
Hmm.
Lankan civil war and ethnic conflict between the Tamil populated north and Sinhalese populated south has also created a new wave of the Tamil diaspora, headed predominantly to Northern America and Western Europe. And in fact, it's estimated that around a third of the Sri Lankan Tamil population has fled the country in the past several decades. All in all, there are easily over 80 million people of Tamil ancestry across the world today, closer to 90 million when taking mixed breeds into account, placing them on par with the
I don't know about calling it mixed breeds. Whoa, I don't agree with that phrase, that way of saying it.
All in all, there are easily over 80 million people of Tamil ancestry across the world today, closer to 90 million when taking mixed breeds into account.
Yeah, mixed breeds. That is not. You don't. Yeah, you don't say that. You can say like mixed heritage, mixed ethnicity, but you don't say mixed breeds. Ooh.
Placing them on par with the number of Italian descendants worldwide, with the largest number being in India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, South Africa, and Singapore. Although it's noteworthy
That
that there
that rocked me, man. I'm shocked still by him saying mixed breed. That I'm assuming it's a slip of the tongue. I'm just going to assume that. All right.
there's also a very large Tamil population in the Indian territory of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in Southeast Asia, making
Or maybe it's not as derogatory as I think. I like when I hear somebody say mixed breed in reference to like a human, I feel like that is very derogatory. That's like you're saying that they're something that's not human, right? Because you say like mixed breed when you're talking about like dogs or cats or something along that nature, but not with humans. That's okay.
up the third largest group after Bengali and Hindi speakers. Religiously, the Tamils are similar to most other Indian populations, predominantly Hindu with a large Muslim and smaller Christian minority, although many of the Tamil speaking Islamic groups, such as the Sri Lankan Moors or the Labais of India, claim Arab or Middle Eastern descent, while the Christians are predominantly the product of European, but not necessarily British missionary work in the area, most notably the Germans, with Tamil Nadu now having the largest Lutheran population in all of Asia. The Tamils are
Interesting.
definitely a group I believe more in the Western world should learn about, arguably being one of the apex civilizations of the East and one of the more interesting modern ethno-linguistic groups in the area. So please let me know your thoughts on the ancient and modern Tamil nation, the migrants that produce the various overseas communities that are of great interest to many, and for today's poll, let me know another Dravidian population you'd like to learn more about. And as always, thanks for watching everyone. This has been Mason, and I'll see you
Mason.
next time.
He calls himself Mason. Okay. What are some of these? The substances mutation explained? Captain America 4, A Brave New Disaster. Path of Exile 2 has taken off the gloves. Origin and genetics of the Dravidian. Lies, theft, AI. This should terrify gamers. Okay. All right. Okay. God, I'm still shocked by him saying mixed breed. It had to have been a slip of the tongue or something, right? Like, it had to have been. I wonder if any of the comments will mention it at all. I'm actually really curious to see if the comments will mention that. This weekend, I will marry my best friend, a beautiful Tamar woman. Her family and the Tamar community, Minnesota, USA, have been wonderful people. Though I am not Tamar by blood, fortunate to be raised in Tamar Nadu, exposed to the vast wealth of Tamar literature dating back to over 2,000 years. I know a very nice Tamar guy, great mood all the time, and real person. Also makes delicious food. Big hug to all Tamar people. I'm from Nagaland, and we have some Tamils here working as teachers, running businesses, etc. Tamil are one of the best people I've come across, so down to earth, knowledgeable, and always wear a smile. Love and hugs from the Kurdish, from Turkey to Tamil. Um, Tamil people are friendly and hardworking people. Their spicy cuisine are one of the most delicious in the world. I do like some spicy cuisine. Nobody conquers the Tamil kings. Who are the Tamil kings? Merchants, probably. They got spices. The Tamil culture is actually the seed of Indian civilization. The one thing that binds all Tamars together is our language, be it Muslim, Christian, or even communist. We are Tamars first, even before being Indian. Hmm. Muslim ruled us 100 years. Which history book you studied? Hmm. The only state in India where people respect one another and get along very well with each other, regardless of their race. Tamilians are of India are highly educated people with fluency in English and math. What? From what I've seen, a lot of people in India get along with everybody else. What? I don't understand that comment. Yes, I met repeatedly stressed we are Tamils Tamar when referred to as Indian. I'm an American from South Korea, and I'm here because recently I found out there's a great similarities between Korean language and ancient Tamil language. Yes, because the dynasty, the Empire dynasty, whatever. Um, I'm pretty sure they made their way to the Koreas. They made their way to Korea. South Korea, Taiwan, and Japan share common ancestry from Dravidians. My trip across Tamil Nadu was amazing. I saw the main highlights, yet there is so much more to see. My next trip will take me to Western India. Look at that guy. I'm mixed race, but around 7% of my gene are South Indian Tamar in origin. I currently live in South Africa. My Indian ancestry in South Africa spoke Tamar as a home language, although they spoke English too, as they are second generation South African Indians. I even learned Tamar as a child, but now I have forgotten it a lot. Yeah, that's the same way with me. Like I'm half Mexican. And I learned a lot of Spanish as a child, but as I grew up surrounded by people that only spoke in English, I've lost my ability to be able to actually like articulate and speak in Spanish. I can understand a lot of it still. Like I can sit down and understand people if they're trying to have a conversation with me, but I'm just not able to like I don't know the correct way to like speak back, right? Um okay, nobody talked about the mixed breed. I think we got to go to like the very bottom. We're going to the bottom. We're taking a trip. We're scrolling down 3,000 comments, however long it'll take us. We're scrolling down. I want to see if anybody brought it up because that was like that that one it had to have been a slip of the tongue, right? It had to have been. That's my only my I that because this guy seems very knowledgeable. He seems very respectful to the culture, the history, the language, the people. He seems very very respectable for it. And I genuinely just think it was a slip of the tongue, but we'll see. I just want to see what other people have to say on the subject here. Very interesting, very educational. This is fascinating. Excellent. Old world? Question mark. Oh yes. Very interesting. Will you do a video about the Malalaya? Masaman something. Okay, I didn't see anything really hinting at the his wording of or choice of wording for mixed breed, but we're gonna read the new comments here. The first new comment, the most recent new comment for this is the Aryan invasion theory is a defunct theory now. I saw a lot of this people saying that it was the British came up with it to divide India. Although there is like specifically genetic proof, right? There's DNA proof that this like intermixing happened. Like invasion is the wrong word. It's like intermixing and their populations merged essentially. Entire world oldest civilization is the Tamar civilization. I want to know why Tamars are so proud of the language. Read this below. With Udan became sudden. Cole become kill. Oh, I'm not reading all that. I'm not reading all that. Sorry. Free Tamar Elam. I don't know what that means. Tamil. Um, South culture is superior in India. It had civilization, tolerance, progress, brotherhood, and less religious, democratic, and secular people in India. The Tamar people are black. The those whitewashed pictures should be purged from the video. What? Nope, they're not. They're Caucasoid by skull shape. Stop claiming everything is black. Says the person whose people want to claim everything for themselves. Oh, the irony. Tamils have nothing to do with Caucasoids. They have nothing to do with blacks either. Lol. Most Tamils today have Iranian genes. They don't look like African. Lol, their skull shape is different, and their hollow group bone structure also no human wants to associate with blacks. Whoa. Oh my god. Okay. Um Dravidian is a fake term. There is no race, language, or culture or anything. We need to use Tamar or like old time Tamulian. Dravidian, like there's like different Dravidian like groups that it's spread apart. I guess you want to say like there's different Tamilian groups that spread apart that became their own separate group after they went to like a different area. I don't know. A lot of Indo-Guyanese and Tradidians are descended from these people. Actually, they're not Tomers. Some only wrongly named Tommy. They are the Nahas. I don't know. I don't know. Um, why all the civil war in Sri Lanka? By the way, the Sinhalese and Tamers. Proud to be Tamur guy. Indran is my name, which means God in sky. Atmosphere translated from Tamar Vanakam. Whoa. What is this? I don't know. Thank you for the education. Did anyone know anything about three Madurols? Two Madurols have been destroyed by flood, and what we have now in Tamil Nadu is a third leftover Madura. I don't know what that means. One of the richest language. I love Tamar. Congas. Oh, we already read that. Tamars are not Dravidians. They are correct. They are original white people from Norway. Apparently, they say Sri Lankan Tamars are mixed of Indian Tamars and Sinhalese. I mean, probably. Wow. Maybe. Um, Tamar are ugly people. What the hell? Okay, that's a troll account. Like Mughal nationalists, it's 100% a troll account. Okay. So many wrong information. Also, Tamars area not native sound like propaganda video. These are real indigenous Indians. There's no true indigenous in India. It's complex. They were never mixed with foreign empires, unlike northern Indians in Pakistan. Nope, Tamars are ugly. Oh, that's the same guy. That's the troll. Being a nationalist or something that doesn't exist anymore fits you perfectly. Aryans are the kings. Excellent overview. You're correct. We should know more about these people. Hmm. Okay. Bring video about Malay Syrian Christians. Hmm. Okay. This guy is also saying the Indian invasion theory is debunked. Search that guy, whoever this guy's research is. And Tamar should be preserved. Um, this person says that that research argues in favor of Aryan invasion theory. They migrated, not invaded. Aryan migration is true. Why else would DNA tests separate North and South Indian ancestry? See, I think people are getting caught up on words. I think that's the thing. Like they think invasion and migration are two separate things. And I guess you can say invasion means they came in and wiped everybody out and then replaced them. But that's it's the word. It's the wording. I think that's causing a lot of arguments. It's the wording. Migration's a good word. There, this is more language of literature than that a history of rendering. It's very boring. Thanks, bro, for sharing such information. Can you make a video about Malayala? Google CEO Sundar Pichai is also Tamar. Well done. If I heard right, is Tamar language 2,200 years old? It's older than that. This guy talks too fast. Tamar, the origin of all. This feels like a lost Atlantis due to the ignorance. Hmm. Okay. Well, there's no evidence to suggest the arrival of Indo-Aryan people was an invasion. There's no evidence to suggest Harappan civilization was Dravidian. Then that means language of Harappa civilization is extinct. We don't know why language they spoke, so cannot predict if it is extinct. It is not a Dravidian, but it is a Tamar. Lol, there is no evidence to say it is Tamar. Stop talking rubbish. It might be Proto Dravidian, but until you get evidence, It's just all mythical story. They did the DNA test between the Indus Valley and the Tamars, and it's fully matched. Research about it. This proves that the Tamars were in the Indus Valley civilization. Well, that's not true. Research, you can't just accept the fact. Show me the facts. Give me the link that says Indus Valley DNA and Tamar DNA is the same. This person linked that here. The video has full proof of DNA evidence. It was a migration, yes, but they clearly had intertribal conflicts with certain groups within the areas they migrated into, whether it's the BMAC subcontinent. It's most likely the Proto-Dravidian in origin, as is the most logical possibility for this existence of Dravidian language in South Asia. We see Dravidian loanwords in the earliest books of the Rig Veda as well, which indicates Indo-Aryan interacted and assimilated with these people. Wow, these people just keep going on and on and on. 2 years ago, huh? Over the course of a year. The first comment was 3 years ago. The last comment was 2 years ago. What's this? What's this that he linked here? What is this? What is this video here? I don't know. I can't read the channel name. Can we translate? Oh, he's got a translation here. A 4,500-year-old skeleton sample was identified in a recent excavation here in Haryana, India, which belongs to Indus Valley civilization. Interestingly, the DNA matches with the Imperial tribes of Tamil Nadu, which confirms that they're people who inhabited the Indus Valley civilization are Dravidians, especially Tamars. A study published last year also proved that the Aryan invasion migration, the Aryan migration theory. See, they changed it up from invasion to migration theory. The study says steppe pastorals, aka Aryans, arrived 35 to 4,000 years ago. At the time, IVC was the declining pace. Thus, further confirms that Indus Valley civilization is not a Vedic civilization, and there is no connection with the Brahmins. But the Indian government wants to hide this truth for a long time and did not release the Rakhigarhi DNA sample for otherwise. What? Huh? Hmm. Does he have does he have the excavation? He has it linked here. India Today. Aryan migration paper. 4,500-year-old DNA from this place, Rakhigarhi, reveals evidence that will unsettle Hindutva nationalists. Hindu TVA? I'm gonna have to read this. I'm gonna have to go through and read this. Um, I don't know. I don't think I've seen this Indian Today either. What is this? The genetic formation of South Central Asia. Genetic formation of formation of Central and South Asia populations have been unclear because of the absence of ancient DNA. All right, I think I got to read this. I'm going to read this on my own. We're getting away from the video. The video is a reaction to not that. I was going to react to that. Where's the original video? We got to go back. This was the original video. I've already forgotten. It was so long ago. Okay. All right. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'll catch you on the next one, yeah? Take care. Goodbye.